Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ask Dr. Be Good show, the show where we bring you the pedagogy, the practice, and the politics around public education. As always, I never seem to be lacking content, and it's always interesting to be able to bring this to you, not because you're an educator, not because you're a parent, but because you have an interest in making sure that our kids in public education get well instructed and graduate with their opportunities to go on to college, vocational schools, or military. Because, folks, that's the only way we're going to have a strong economy. So building an advocacy, a pub ed advocacy army in all of you, whether you have kids in school, whether you have kids at all, is my job. And so let's get started on that. One of the things that I try to bring to all of us is the news about our digital devices, right? You know that I'm very big on using this platform to train our educators and our parents on different research that comes out over time on the different important pieces of our life. And of course, devices is an important piece of our life now, especially after the pandemic. Gosh, we've never had so many kids with internet at home. We've never had so many kids with, um, gosh, um, devices that the school's given them, just all sorts of opportunities for kids to get better and for parents actually to get better at being online, learning online, and frankly living online. But what is that doing to us? So there's an article that caught my attention, Medical City Healthcare, and it's called Digital Detox: Why Scaling Back Your Screen Time is Important. And that caught my eye because we cannot know enough right now about our digital responsibilities, okay, and the impact it's having on us and our children. So let's start with the data. You know, I always like to bring data that is a foundational piece to the discussion. And according to a report by eMarketer, U.S. adults spend nearly 8 hours per day consuming digital media. And this was in 2020. Smartphone usage makes a significant portion of that screen time, and with adults spending an average of 3 hours and 13 minutes on their smartphones per day in 2020. That was an increase of from 2 hours and 45 minutes the previous year. And if you'll remember, 2019, in February, we went to pandemic lockdown. So, of course, we were using our phones and our devices more. We were having to help our kids be learning online and so forth. So it's not surprising that that increased. But how does screen time affect adults, right? Adults who get a lot of screen time may have trouble falling asleep or suffer retina damage due to the blue light emitted by electronic devices, according to Sleep Foundation. Part of the reason electronics contribute to sleeplessness is that they suppress the production of melatonin, a hormone released in the evening that makes you feel tired. Blue light emissions can reduce or delay the natural production of melatonin and subsequently reduce the amount of time spent in slow wave and REM sleep. Okay, so that's an important piece right there that we need to keep track of, because you know how important sleep is now. We know that, right? That with making sure we get a handle on stress. So now we know that just like exercise, frankly, with exercise, we should not be doing that up to bedtime. Now they're saying we should not be using our device right up to bedtime because it can impact our sleep. According to the National Alliance on Medical Illness, NAMI, indicators of mental wellness such as happiness and self-esteem have decreased since the rise of the smartphone, while mental health issues such as anxiety and depression have increased. Part of the issue may be that more screen time, particularly when it's spent on social media, can lead to an increase in stressors such as social isolation, comparison, comparing us to the Joneses and finding us wanting and then thinking we needed to do something about that. And then cyberbullying and reduced productivity. So those are huge factors, right, that we need to pay attention to. And here's an interesting one. If you need more reasons to limit your use of screens. Consider this. Experts and research studies agree that using tech in the toilet may lead to constipation and hemorrhoids. Whoa, what? I'm not doing that one today. I'm not touching that one, but I will put the link of that story in the comments. So, how does screen time affect children and adolescents? Children and adolescents are also spending more time watching screens. According to the American Academy of Children and Adolescent Psychiatry, children 8 to 12 years of age in the U.S. spend 4 to 6 hours per day watching or using screens, while teenagers may spend up to 9 hours per day watching screens. Increased screen time can be detrimental to children and adolescents, as it could expose them to violence, substance use, sexual content, or hurtful stereotypes. It may also cause them to negatively compare themselves with their peers or with celebrities. And that's a problem. As with adults, too much screen time, especially close to bedtime, can have negative impact on children's sleep. So some good reasons why we need to maybe pay attention to this, why we need to be thinking that we need to come up with a game plan. So what can we do? How can a digital detox help us, our family, our kids? A digital detox is a period of time during which a person voluntarily reduces or avoids spending time on digital devices such as smartphones or laptops. Taking time away from electronic devices every now and then can help counteract some of the negative effects screen time can have on a person's mental and physical well-being. You don't have to completely stop using the digital devices cold turkey, but you could try to make an initial change and then adjust as needed. By limiting your screen time, you likely won't feel as you're missing out on fun activities because you won't be aware of them. You'll also be less likely to compare yourself to your peers. Though keep in mind that social media often acts as a highlight reel, and this caught my attention. This is really important to remember. Your peers may more than likely be showing the glamorous and positive side of their life and not really posting anything about their struggles. And I think I can think we could assume that about everybody, right? Who's going to put on there about, them not being able to pay their bills or, I don't know, other negative things. So no, they're going to only write the positive things, which sometimes makes us envious, right? So, limiting your screen time can allow you to be more present also with the people around you. And that's one that we've talked a lot about being present, especially family members at the dinner table, no devices at the dinner table, right? You've heard me say that. So it doesn't have to be difficult. You can start by setting time limits for yourself. For example, you could set an hour a day of scrolling through social media. And once you hit that limit, you stay off until the next day. Well, I think that may be a little bit too much. I'm thinking, when I say too much, I'm thinking that going from 8 hours to possibly 1 hour a day, I don't think is reasonable. So I would be careful there. Here's what I would suggest. You sit down with your family or your spouse, if you don't have kids, and you come up with a plan, right? You say, here are the times that we need to try to put our phone down, be present for each other, and really work at, first of all, accepting the fact, right? A lot of people hate accepting the fact that this information I'm bringing is true, right? Gosh, could my sleep be impacted? Could my retina damage be happening? Do I want to believe that? Because if I believe it, then I do have to put the phone down, right? And so accepting the information is an important part of this. And then once you accept the information, what are you going to do about it? Come up with a plan and execute the plan, right? That's a huge piece of it. You could set a specific time during which you must put down your phone or close your laptop. Some smartphones even have a digital well-being option that allows you to set time limits for your apps. This setting can also show you how much time you spend in certain apps, as well as how many times you unlock your phone per day. I don't even want to look at mine. I'm as guilty as anyone. So, Screen time isn't bad as long as you're able to moderate your use. Start small and experiment with different techniques for reducing your screen time, and don't feel bad if you go over your time limit. You can always try again another day. Medical City Health provides comprehensive emergency service. So should you find that your kids, because this is something that we're finding also, as you try to limit that screen time, you may find that addiction is stronger than you think in your kids, or maybe yourself or your spouse. And it may lead to discussion around depression that they're feeling, around anxiety, which is a good thing, because we want, if people are feeling that, we need for them to be able to talk about it so that they can get help, right? And so being able to be more cognizant of what's happening with family members. You've heard my story, my recent story. It's been 5 weeks this week that we lost our son. And so I'm very much now on the road to trying to help people maybe find out sooner than we did when it was too late. So pardon me for that, but we've already saved people. As I mentioned last week, we've already had people reaching out saying, thank you for the information you've given us. We're getting help. We weren't going to get help before this, but we are now. And so how can we not be proud of that, right? So we need more of those moments, more of those helping people moments. And so thank you. And so teaching people about the impact that our different pieces of today's society is having on children and adults is part of my work. And so let's learn a little bit more about how children learn versus how adults learn. This article caught my attention. It's from Mind and Matters. There are actually something called cognitive scientists. And so in the journal Cognition, New York University cognitive scientist Emily Liquin and author Alison Gopnik found a way to give children and grown-ups exactly the same problem, because they wanted to explore if children and adults learn differently, right? So they use something called a learning trap. When we grown-ups try something new, from oysters to opera, and get a bad results, we usually won't try it again. And we've very much had that experience. My son-in-law had his first oyster with my husband. Out of the same batch of oysters, my husband did not get sick, but my son-in-law got deathly ill for about 3 days. And of course, he's teased a lot, but he will not touch an oyster. That might seem like the most basic kind of intelligence. Even rats stay away from a path that leads to a shock. But it has an important downside. If we quickly conclude that all oysters and operas are indigestible and reject them ever after, we will never learn that the world is more complicated than that. A stale clam or lame Aida opera may keep us from ever discovering the delights of a sparkling Milan oyster or scintillating magic flute. And so as an adult, we do let oftentimes one experience limit us the rest of our life. In fact, anxiety disorders like phobias and PTSD may be the result of such learning traps. Suffer through one turbulent, nauseating airplane trip, and you may develop a fear of flying that keeps you from forever getting back on a plane, right? Psychologists can create learning traps in the lab, and many studies show that grown-ups quickly fall into them. But what about kids? We gave 64 4- and 5-year-olds and 87 adults a simple game to play. You get to decide whether to put different blocks on a machine. If the machine lights up, you get a star, which translates to a sticker for kids or a few cents for grown-ups. But if it doesn't light up, you lose twice as much. The point of the game is to figure out which blocks make the machine light up and earn as many stars or cents as you can. It seems easy, but a learning trap is lurking. Suppose you choose a white striped block and you get a star. Then you try a white spotted one and you lose 2 stars. Grown-ups rapidly conclude that there's a simple rule: stripes are good and spots are bad. Now you see a black spotted block. Fearing another loss, you won't even try it, like the oysters or the opera. But here's the catch. Even our simplest block world is actually more complicated. In fact, the rule is that all blocks work except for the ones with the white spots. Black spots are fine. But if you go on trying stripes and avoiding spots, you'll never discover this. In fact, more than 70% of the adults never did figure it out. So, man, spots on any color turned out to be bad in the adults' minds very early on in the game. When you give the 4 and 5-year-olds exactly the same problem, they behaved very differently. They are irresistibly drawn to see what the new blocks will do, even though they love the stars and they know that they risk losing them. But just as grown-up prudence may have drawbacks, childhood curiosity has advantages. Children gather much more evidence than adults and were much better at learning. Most of the children did figure out the right rule. However, they earned fewer stars than the grown-ups. Computer scientists talked about a fundamental trade-off between exploration and exploitation, and learning traps are an excellent example. We grown-ups are often so anxious to exploit that we don't explore. And we're so afraid of losing stars that we might miss the chance to learn something new. Children, in contrast, are natural explorers willing to sacrifice stars for the sake of information. You need both types of thinking to thrive, but we grown-ups might learn something from those insatiably curious kids. So that's very interesting, and I challenge you to think and maybe post in the comments what has deterred you. What experience did you have that deterred you from trying something again? I'm trying to think of me. I can think of things that I did as a child that I won't do, or that got harder for me. For example, I used to love roller coasters. As I got older, I don't do roller coasters anymore. I don't like that feeling of sick in your gut feeling, right? So that was out for me. I'm trying to think what I might have learned and not liked one time. But if you can think of something, because I thought that was a good example of the opera and the oysters, especially in my family, we actually had the oyster, thing happen, and he will not touch oysters. So write them in the comments there. Now, as you all know, I have often preached mindfulness and the importance of mindfulness, and this time of year, the importance of gratitude. And I found an interesting article from Positive Psychology, and it's backed up by Harvard Medical, about how important it is to feel gratitude. And so, again, you've heard me say this, we don't just do it at Thanksgiving, but it's a good reminder time. It should be a year-long activity. So I found within the article 3 gratitude activities to do. And since we have 3 Sundays, 2 before Thanksgiving and then the one right after Thanksgiving, I thought I would do one per Sunday between now and the Sunday after Thanksgiving, so that I can constantly remind us to not only to be grateful, but how activities to work it, right? So let me see. We have the first one has to do with savoring. Creating savoring rituals. When we contemplate the things that makes us happy, we tend to think of extraordinary and memorable moments or events. going on a trip of a lifetime, or winning the lottery, having a baby. Yet consistently noticing and savoring small and everyday positive moments can have a significant effect on happiness, resilience, well-being, and overall life satisfaction. Those are big ones. And of course, there's backup research here. Subjective well-being is not likely to be significantly improved by savoring only truly extraordinary positive events, which are by nature usually rare and sporadic. Indeed, the frequency of positive experiences is a much better predictor of happiness than the intensity of the experiences. Okay, so the frequency of the experiences is much better predictor of happiness than the intensity of those experiences. So just to give an idea, let's say that it was always our goal to climb Mount Everest, right? We were a climber. We wanted to climb Mount Everest. We did some fundraising. We got the money because that's expensive to do. And by the age of 35, let's say, we went there and we got to the summit. All right, now what? All right, now you're 35. You still have about 70 more years to go. Are you done? No. So this is timely reminders that we need to, yes, set goals for those big bucket list things, but in between them, we also have to learn how to savor frequently the positive moments. So savoring is the capacity to notice, appreciate, enhance, and prolong positive experiences in life with deliberate attention to and awareness of positive emotions. Increased awareness of pleasurable sensations lies at the very heart of savoring. When time is taken to notice and to savor pleasant experiences, not only can we recognize positive emotions, but we can also fully appreciate them. Sensory perceptual sharpening is a specific savoring strategy whereby one exerts efforts to be fully present at certain moments by deliberately directing attention to the pleasant experience, which often will be missed if we're on our phones. See the tie-in? So I think I talked on JP, Kathy, and the crew about, hey, you might have a nice mindfulness moment of being walking out in nature, and because you know that the fall leaves are out there, and there's certain flowers that only flower and this time of year. But if you're on your phone and you're not fully present, and so it doesn't count. You can't savor while you're texting or while you're on the phone. Okay. How people direct their attention during positive events has been found to influence their experience of positive emotions. For instance, research findings in the field of mindfulness, defined as the ability to fully present in the moment, have shown that increasing mindfulness can enhance the experience of positive emotions. In a study, and there are big names next, and when I say in a study, I'm going to skip all those names. If you want to know how to, what they are, you let me know and I'll send you the link. Adults with a lifetime history of depression who received mindfulness training were found to experience momentary positive emotions more often, and they showed greater appreciation of and enhanced responsiveness to pleasant daily life activities where they weren't before. Additionally, research by Erisman and Romer revealed that mindfully watching a positive film was associated with elevated levels of positive effect. In another study, it found that attention to sensory experiences like taste, smell, appearance while eating increased liking for familiar foods. In sum, the above described findings all support the value of experiential immersion to amplify positive effect. This tool was designed to increase positive emotions by using sensory perceptual sharpening as a savoring strategy for small, everyday moments of pleasure. So let's see what we have to do that. The goal of this exercise is to help deliberately create savoring rituals around small, everyday moments of pleasure so we can learn to stop, notice, enjoy, and prolong the positive experiences that can be found in everyday activities. So, here we go. Step 1. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking happiness is just around the corner. Many everyday positive experiences pass by without being noticed, appreciated, or enjoyed. How can you respond to these good things in ways that emphasize their positive effects? Savoring is a way to notice and enjoy positive experiences that are already present in our day-to-day lives. Making a conscious choice each day to notice and savor the things we like is an effective way to balance the negative effects of stress, promote resilience in the face of adversity, and increase positive emotions. You do not need to wait passively for an extraordinary life event to occur to savor and enhance positive emotions. In reality, opportunities to savor pleasant experiences can be found almost anywhere, even while experiencing challenging life events. The number of positive experiences you have is much more critical than how special or exceptional those experiences are. In other words, it is more beneficial, what did we say? To have more frequent ones than to have the very emotional and special ones. All right, let's see. So, step 1, identifying everyday activities that bring you pleasure. This step is to get you thinking about the everyday things that give you pleasure. In other words, what do you look forward to on an average day? Take a few moments to think about enjoyable activities that you can pursue and savor during an average day. These could include your morning cup of coffee, me, a hot bath, or a short stroll in the sunshine during your lunch hour. You should ensure that the activities are common sources of pleasure and enjoyment for you. List the activities below so that you have to list them, okay? And you must choose to savor 2 enjoyable experiences each day for at least 2 weeks, okay? These should be ordinary activities from your daily routine that you might typically rush through. No matter what you choose to savor, focus on fully immersing yourself in the experience. Avoid outside distractions, turn off your cell phone, put everything else aside, and give the activity your complete attention. Slow down and notice and appreciate the positive aspects of the activity, paying close attention to and filtering out any thoughts that interfere with your savoring of the moment. If your mind begins to wander, simply bring your attention back to the positive sights, sounds, and smells around you. Maybe you're having a biscuit with your coffee. I know I absolutely love certain types of biscuits with my coffee. It reminds me of being in New Orleans again. It reminds me of being in Spain, Puerto Rico, with that special kind of coffee and milk, and then a special, local biscuit. I love it. So think of this step as a way to create a memory. Paying attention to your senses will help you savor the moment thoroughly and evoke pleasant memories of your experiences. Pay close attention to as many positive sights, sounds, and smells or other sensations as you can. Use as many of your senses as possible. Like, what do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? What do you feel? What do you taste? For instance, if you have chosen your morning coffee as one of your pleasant experiences, try to pay attention to the smell of the freshly ground coffee. What words would you use to describe this? Rich, sweet, earthy? Close your eyes for that first sip. Describe the sensation and taste in as much detail as possible. Notice the pleasant surroundings and the positive feelings and try to prolong the experience as long as you can. So, only 2 of these a day, maybe coffee, and what would be another one? If it's an especially nice fall day, you go out, walk the dog, smell the earth. I have a walk around here, and I can smell the jasmine in the spring, and then I can smell earth in the fall. I really am attuned to it, and just bring it in. Just love it. Or you could, that first bite of dinner, especially a dinner that you looked forward to. Maybe you haven't had it for a while. So you do this for 2 weeks. And at the end of each week, take some time to record your reflections on creating your savoring rituals. Recall as many of the positive emotions that you experienced and savored in the past 7 days, and then write them below in the space that they give you. And then from the list above, which 3 positive emotions did you experience most often throughout the exercise? Looking back over the past 7 days, have you noticed more positive emotions compared to your typical week? While savoring your chosen moments, did you feel your attention shifting away from the exercise? If so, what actions did you take to return your focus back to the positive event? When you think back on your positive experiences, do you feel appreciative of small moments of pleasure? Do you feel more than you did before? Did savoring make you feel more aware of the pleasant experiences that can be found all around you? Did you find that savoring certain moments made the experiences more pleasurable than before? What did you enjoy most throughout this exercise? Did you find anything challenging throughout this exercise? If so, what? Do you find yourself looking forward to savoring these activities in the future? Did you share this experience with others? If so, how did this make you feel? How did others react? So, my hope is that you'll give yourself at least 1 week of savoring, and that you enjoy it so much that you'll actually do the second week. But a lot of times we do have to force ourselves to do these activities because sometimes we feel silly doing them. Sometimes we don't make time for them. But if we know that we need a little more pep in our step, we've been feeling down, we're a little anxious, depressed, and maybe you've called for help. Maybe you have a counselor appointment in 2 weeks because it's so hard to get counselors, in a timely manner. Do something like this. They'd be interested to hear the results if you actually felt better about yourself as a foundational piece to recovery. So my hope is that you will accept my challenge of doing these gratitude activities the next 3 weeks as we go through the holiday season, especially if we have been feeling anxious and depressed, and know that really we need to do something to energize ourselves and work on ourselves. Well, as always, our time goes by quickly together, and I thank you for being with us. And write your comments, let me know you're here, and if anything spoke to you, let me know. And as always, I'm available to you if you have a problem at school, if you have some issue with a teacher, with a principal that you can't seem to resolve on your own. Reach out to me. I may be able to give you some school law, some narrative that might help empower you and get that conversation going in a better direction. All right, everyone. I hope that you have a great week, and only 2 more weeks till Thanksgiving, right? Take care, everyone.